What's up, you guys? Ross Sapp. It is October 6th, 2021. Jimmy Van out again, 3 straight weeks. He never comes to work. Is that a surprise? Probably not, but we got somebody better anyway. We got one of the 3 hosts of Grapsody, which is now seen every Saturday on Fightful.com at noon. You all had a fantastic first showing. Beat Distraction in the ratings, which made me happy. Very, very happy. We got William Washington. How you doing?
I am doing great. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing good. I mentioned I've got your name crudely pasted over Jimmy's over there. That's the rib. Like, I don't make a new frame. We just we want to show Jimmy he's very easily replaceable.
Hold on. I'm trying to see what it says at the bottom there.
Grapsody on Fightful, noon Eastern
Saturdays. Okay,
come on.
Yeah.
Don't bury it. Don't bury it.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Hold on. I get it in promo mode. Yes, Grapsody. It's every Saturday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. YouTube.com/Fightful. You can also follow Grapsody Pod. I'm William RBR on Twitter. You can also follow Phil DL616. And then there's also Righteous Reg. The 3 of us, we just decided to come together and do something new, and luckily Sean over here gave us the space to do so, and Jimmy. But you were the one I had the conversation with, so you get.
Well, it had a great first episode. A lot of positive feedback. Noon Eastern every Saturday. Of course, it's on podcast platforms everywhere. But if you're here right now, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, tap the bell for notifications. Do us a favor, share the show. Spread it out there on social media. We got started a little bit early today because, lots of stuff going on. So we decided to go ahead and get it started. But donate a super chat. You'll get your question or statement read on the air. We want to thank our sponsor, Destiny FOMO. With Jimmy being off the show, she's going to get like a full month of extra reads. But Destiny FOMO, who I had the great pleasure of meeting in New York City, we hung out. She bought me pizza. She was an honest to God sponsor there. I said I felt like the Bucks with Masa. She was buying me food, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? What's going on here? But Twitter.com/Destiny FOMO if you like wrestling, if you like gaming. Wonderful person. We're happy to have her on. We'll repeat that at the end of the show. But yeah, you can see her Twitter handle right above William's head there. But
right there.
Let's talk about what everybody came here to see. Tony D'Angelo debuted last night.
He did.
Boy. So I tweeted this is going to happen, and it did happen. Oh, boy. He's sarcastically over with the crowd.
Yeah.
Very
more so that because there's
over.
a lot of those new NXT acts, and a lot of people were afraid that, you're dealing with a lot of because I feel it's more mixed. I think people were expecting like the whole Full Sail crowd to be back with NXT 2.0, but it doesn't really feel like it so much. And I think that was apparent like the first time Imperium came out and like no one was singing along. But
yes.
But just thinking about how this act was going to be received, I guess I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, it's fun.
Hannah calls him the GOAT of wrestling Tonys. Oh my gosh. I mean,
I don't know. Shivani's up there, but that's fine.
Could you imagine if the FBI or DeBaldies from ECW were like a thing here? DeBaldies would be super over sarcastically in NXT. They really would be. And you know what? If people like him for whatever reason, more power to him. But like he tried to bribe the ref, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah, that was great stuff.
There are little elements to this that I'm like, okay, this is wildly stereotypical and very stupid, but like he's really leaning into it. He's doing everything that he can. He's like, you gave me this stupid gimmick, I'm gonna make the best of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think because it was reminding me of did you watch? I feel like one of like 3 people who watched it 3 years ago, but I did review it back on RBR. But did you watch Ring Warriors when it aired?
I did. Yes.
do you remember the little pizza spot they did each week?
I vaguely.
Yeah, it was reminding me of that a lot. And but again, that's one of those things that nobody watched, and it's like I maybe like on occasion drop references to Ring Warriors, and everybody's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Sorry, it aired at 2 a.m. on WGN, and 3 people watched it."
I remember when they went to Joe's Pizza one time, because that's where I had heard of Joe's Pizza.
Yeah,
the Slambinos or whatever.
yeah, the Slambinos.
Yeah,
that was
Slambinos,
it.
yeah.
Yes, the Slambinos. Thank you. I could not remember the name. The Slambinos was what it was reminding me of.
That was so ridiculous too.
Yeah.
But that's where I knew the name Joe's Pizza when Demon Diva took me there. That's how I knew about it. Yeah, was because of the Slambinos of all things. Go figure. We have some super chats. Anakin JMT says the bump being incredibly tone deaf with Sonya infuriates me. Whoever asked that question should be fired. Let's address this point by point. Ryan Papola, he asked Sonya a question about the Edge Seth Rollins home invasion. I think it was an absent-minded thing on the bump. I don't think he said, "Oh, as a person who has had a home invasion and almost, had all this happen." I don't think that was the element. I don't think somebody should be fired over something like absent-minded like that. And even so, an apology is just fine. Even if it wasn't absent-minded, it's like, all right. But I think it was just a goof. Have you seen this yet?
So no, I haven't seen this. So just you bringing it up, my initial thought was ooh. But then it's one of those things where
he asked her. Sorry to interrupt. He asked her as a position of authority, as a person in a position of authority, and I asked the same thing to Gail Kim about Deanna and Mickey yesterday. So I mean, it's a common question there. But I mean, he should definitely apologize. Sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to add some context.
Yeah, no, I mean, because it's one of the I'm in a big intent kind of guy, and so like I'm never the type of person to necessarily go after somebody without at least trying to recognize their intent. And so I haven't seen it. Did she respond in a way that was like, "Hey," or did she just kind of roll with it?
She like vaguely referenced the fact that, I mean, she addressed the elephant in the room without explicitly saying it. But I mean, she let it be known. I mean, you know how I feel. Now, people are saying that they brought it up twice. I have not seen the second time, but it seems like it was just an absent-minded thing. And I'm sorry it was absent-minded is fine enough for me. I don't want anybody fired over stuff like that. I don't think any malicious intent was there.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Now, granted, I haven't seen it, so I'm only just speaking off of your description of it. But even still, if I were describing WWE events of the week and I had a WWE personality there, and I'm not necessarily even thinking in the mode of things that have happened outside of the scope of WWE, like, if you're hosting in an environment where you're talking about the things that happen within WWE with a WWE on-screen personality, I wouldn't even think to bring any other elements out, into it. So I don't know, but I'd have to see it to know for sure. But even still, sounds absent-minded, and I don't. Was there an apology? I guess that was.
I don't know. I guess I'm sure we'll see one.
Right.
Dante says no Jimmy today. He's the Joker confirmed. He is a Joker. That's for damn sure. That is absolutely true. Joseph Gray says, I need D'Angelo Grimes feud. Old money versus new money. Can't wait for the next edition of Grapsody this Saturday. I would love that to be the complete basis of the feud. Old money versus new money. That's what we're here for. I mean, these people that have money, I want to see them using it within the context of the show for sure. Absolutely. Mr. CJ Lilly says, hey guys, how do you get the Raw Championship off Charlotte so they don't have to swap the titles at Crown Jewel? Does Alexa return? Well, I mean, the way that you've always got it off Charlotte, you just beat her in a match because she's lost like 13 of them. I don't think it'd be that hard. There's
a few ways to do it. So it's still open out there, of course, that the SmackDown Women's title, for example, is still being defended at Crown Jewel in a match that features 2 Raw stars and 1 SmackDown. So you do have the possibility of the match ending with Sasha winning. And so at that point, that belt returns to SmackDown. We don't know what Charlotte's doing at Crown Jewel. I assume something. And if that, or even before or after, at which point, if she's defending against somebody from Raw, you could have her drop that title. Although, as I said that, and I'm thinking about the roster, so I really don't want to see them do the belt swap. I think that was honestly one of the most insulting things they did last year, mainly because the Street Profits up to that point, like I guess these reigns, Charlotte and Becky's reigns have only been going since SummerSlam, so not as huge of a deal. But last year they did the swap with the New Day and the Street Profits. The Street Profits at that point having been like one of the longest reigning Raw tag champions in years, and their reign officially ended via handing the belts to the New Day, and that drove me nuts. I personally would not want to see another reign in that way. So I'd rather some type of actual title swap, or better yet, somebody brought up on Twitter, and I actually kind of agree with it. I hate the naming convention of the belts as they exist, but I do think that for the sake of making swaps like this not so weird, naming the Raw women's title and the SmackDown women's title something a little more like
the women's universal title.
Women's universal or world or something along those lines, giving it the ability to be swapped without
the WWE title and the world heavyweight title. They did it for years.
They did that all the time.
Fine.
Yeah, and same with Intercontinental and US have swapped. And honestly, some people may forget, if you haven't been watching a long time, did you know, historically, that the Raw Tag Team Championships used to belong to SmackDown?
Yes.
So, like, you could also just swap the names of the belts. And then at that point, the lineage continues. You're not breaking up a reign via some stupid shenanigans.
They abused their lineage. The tag titles that we saw, Demolition and the Road Warriors,
they just dropped them.
They don't exist.
I know.
It's so weird.
These belts right here. Weird. It's so funny because I always have a belt in like arm's reach.
My favorites of all time were those. Oh my God. They just abused that lineage.
Absolutely did.
I don't understand. But the US title has the same lineage. Come on, man.
The US title dates back to WCW, but on the other hand, the Cruiserweight title got broken up for no real reason. So now you have to, when you look up WWE Cruiserweight title, it brings up, do you mean the one that ended in 2007 or the one that began in 2016?
Because you can't just adopt. It's so weird. So weird. We reminder, guys, donate a super chat, get your question or statement read on the air. It's that little $sign down at the bottom, and it greatly supports us, as does our friend Destiny FOMO. Follow her, twitter.com/Destiny FOMO. We have some more NXT talk. I mean, that seems to be a hot topic every Wednesday. But Joel Wood says Johnny Gargano removed NXT references from his Twitter bio. He still has WWE Superstars bio link. But do you have any word on his future? No, I haven't heard of any extended talks thus far. It seems like he has leaned into the my contract's coming up news. Now that it's out there, it really seems like he has, like, posting what title is next. And it's a picture of all of his titles, to which I, of course, replied, the Impact Digital Media Championship. What else could you possibly want in your career? How are you feeling about Johnny Gargano right now? I think that a month ago, people would have felt a lot different than they do now with NXT 2.0 and the nature of this program changing.
I think, and this may be, I know some people don't like this statement, but NXT in its previous incarnation is starting to feel more like developmental for AEW. And in that sense, like when you think about how the most prolific champion that NXT had in those first 2 years, Adam Cole, is now in those first 2 years on USA is what I meant to say.
Yeah,
is now in AEW, and there's a lot of acts all of a sudden that are over there, like in the sense of, some people were like, I kind of like Everrise, and all of a sudden now that's a regular act you see on AEW television as 2.0. And
You're not wrong.
So thinking about somebody like Johnny Gargano and how AEW. So NXT for the longest time had that reputation of being kind of the super indie. And with WWE essentially trying to abandon that style, and you can see NXT 2.0 is very much not that anymore. And with it backing off of that style, whereas AEW has very much embraced that style, somebody like Johnny Gargano,
Yeah.
it actually does seem like if I were him, that's the direction I'd be looking of the place that's going to be the next logical step for my career and for what I believe I bring to the table.
So yeah, I really agree with what you're saying there. Like this feels much more like WWE developmental than it did a few months ago. And I do agree with that. I mean, and quite frankly, AEW used their developmental talents from WWE better than WWE would have. Look at 2.0. I mean, my God, they've become a very useful, entertaining act there. Keep those super chats rolling in, guys. Like this praise for Grapsody. J.K. Schwal puts it over, and Kurt Benoit says, loved your first show. Was high as a kite, so the 2 hours felt like 8. But now I feel like we've been through things together. Did you find your dogs?
I did find my dogs. For people who are looking for an update on the dogs, they were just like in a neighbor's yard, just like tearing through their stuff.
Man.
But yes, did recover the dogs. I ended up spending that Saturday afternoon reinforcing my fence. But yeah, dogs made their way back.
We've got Van Twinblade saying, check out this month's Glory Pro. You'll see Jake something destroy my sign for Suzuki. He's a jerk. He's a big son of a bitch, is Jake something. I have a bounty out on any Impact wrestler that can successfully hit him with a pounce. $50. It's been out there. Nobody's taken me up on it yet. I know y'all aren't getting paid that much in Impact. $50. $50. And all you got to do is risk your life and career. That's it.
I'll up it. 500 if it actually is Monty Brown.
Okay, if it's actually Monty Brown, I'll throw in another 500. But we gotta get the footage. Fightful's got to get the footage because I know we'll make our money back on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what I gotta have. So we had some AEW talk. By the way, guys, FightfulSelect.com. I have an update on Bobby Fish's contract status. We're posting exclusive news over at Fightful Select all the time. I had another big story that we're going to talk about in a bit, and we'll be following up on that. But Dante V says, fingers crossed that Tony's announcement is a secondary women's title. And Matt Rykeel says, any thoughts on Tony's major announcement? My guess is either Hangman or Buddy Murphy for the Joker. I don't think that he would make his announcement the Joker. I don't think he would do that.
I think it's two things for sure. And he seemed to clarify that in the interview he did with Mike Johnson today that it's two things. I think that this is me giving Tony the benefit of the doubt. I tweeted this earlier. I feel like Tony's ear is very much to the ground when it comes to wrestling fandom. He very much seems to be aware of what wrestling fans are talking about. And there's a very notorious situation that people tend to cite, and I'm one of them. But thinking about Royal Rumble 2014 in Pittsburgh and how number 29 had hit and the whole crowd chanting, yes, 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 all anticipating Bryan Danielson, despite the fact that Daniel Bryan at the time had clarified in interviews many times, I am not in the Royal Rumble. But people are like, oh, he's working us. He's going to be in the Rumble. Here it comes. And then number 30 hits, Rey Mysterio's music hits, gets booed out of the building. And like the thing is, it's Rey Mysterio, right? Like all-time great. But the fact that it wasn't the person people were anticipating was one of those things that like they absolutely blew it, right? So thinking about tonight and knowing that in Philadelphia and hearing all the buzz on social media that's been going for weeks. It's well before the announcement of the casino ladder match. Knowing that there's all of these people just wanting resolution to the Hangman story, it would be a colossal mistake to announce anything that has a surprise entrant and it not be Hangman. And I feel like knowing that people are anticipating that, I don't think Tony would go with anything else.
So I got a follow-up for you.
Okay.
Because they very clearly, they love to stretch stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is also a very easy way to have Hangman in the match, have him come back, not pin him, and have somebody else get the title shot, right?
I don't know if I would do that either, though.
I know, because that's tiptoeing around WWE type of stuff.
Right.
Like, will we ever give you what you want? Got you $1. You're going to have to be quicker than that. It's tiptoeing towards that. It's not quite, because I think everybody knows Hangman Page is going to win that title. Mm-hmm. We just don't know when. Now, a lot of people always thought, Full Gear, it's named after him. I mean, AEW's in a very good position to where the most popular babyface in their company can be like, hey, I want to take like 3 or 4 months off. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Well, he is advertised, though, for the Dynamite following Full Gear. He is literally all over the signage. Like, that is, he is absolutely that guy who's all over it. I do feel, though. Oh, my God.
I don't want to see it. So a lot of people are like, I want to see it so the internet cries. I don't want the internet to cry. I want the internet to be really happy. That way we got 3,000 live viewers tonight on the post show. That's what I want.
Well, yeah, it's so like it's a hard thing to do, right? Like, again, you have to recognize, like, I feel like Tony would recognize some of the little details here and how, like, this match can't necessarily be something to piss people off because you still got to film Rampage. Like, you're not done after this match.
Yes.
And so you can't, like, infuriate them. So it has to be something at least mildly satisfying.
Hannah Armand says they better not. I'm not traveling to Minnesota to not see Paige have a match. Oh, well, it's so funny. Everybody's acting like Minnesota. It's like, have you ever read Jericho's first book where he talks about like driving across like sheets of ice up in Canada to wrestle in front of 4 people? People act like it's going to be that in Minneapolis in November. It's not.
I mean, it's the Target Center. This is literally where the Timberwolves play. Like, this isn't it's not a Podunk Arena. This is actually this was the home of SummerSlam 1999.
It is where the Timberwolves play basketball.
Yes.
They make attempts to play basketball there.
Oh, yeah. This will definitely have a better showing than probably any Timberwolves game this year.
Oh, man. Joel Wood says, would there be any backlash to Tony or AEW if anybody but Paige is the one to dethrone Omega? I mean, it's not something I can put out there explicitly, but I can tell you that some people had some questions about whether it should or would happen this spring, summer, but the guy stayed over, and it's been a good story, and the show has not suffered without him. So when he comes back, I can't imagine how good it's going to be. Plus, since AEW and Impact are in bed together, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson can go after the Impact Digital Media Championship, the grandest prize in all of wrestling. So you got Moxley and Archer and all these people competing for the United States title. I'm ready to see the big stars compete for the Impact Digital Media Championship. What a stupid name that is.
So stupid.
Like the digital championship. Call it the digital championship, the online championship.
Digital media.
Jesus.
I will say that because I've seen the sentiment that a lot of people have said that it's too late for Hangman, that you had that chance back in the summer, you didn't do it then, the story's Bryan now, go with Bryan. There's a couple of details about Bryan that I very much appreciated, and why I feel like it doesn't have to be Bryan's time here, which is that Bryan wants his hands on Kenny, but continually, and I watched the promo like 3 times to see if I could spot it, and I didn't. Bryan has not mentioned the AEW World Title one time. Actually, he did. One time he mentioned it, and that was to say he wasn't going after it. He specifically said, I don't want the title, I want Kenny. And that was the week before Grand Slam. And since then, he has not mentioned the championship whatsoever. So the cool thing is that that's a story you can continue to play off of. And when Hangman eventually does win the championship, you go back to Bryan.
Yes.
And you can continue the Bryan story. And you can continue Bryan and Kenny and go with the 60-minute Iron Man match, whatever you want to do. And it doesn't have to contain the championship. And then Hangman can move on to anybody else like Miro or something. Now I'm just thinking months ahead. But there's a lot you could do with that.
Reminder, guys, you can see Will every Saturday on the Grapsody podcast, noon Eastern, here on Fightful with Phil and Reg. It's like just a fantastic outpouring of support after that show. And beyond that, we didn't even get into the other super chat about Tony's specific announcement. I mean, I've heard that a secondary women's title is coming. I've heard that. I don't know if this will be that. Talent I've talked to don't necessarily seem to know when that title will debut or pop up. Some are speculating whenever Dynamite moves over to TBS, which is months away. I mean, they could be like, well, you know what? We're going to put every damn woman we have in a tournament and run like a 3-month tournament. And I'd be cool with that too. I mean, it would be, I think it'd be a pretty good announcement. I want trios titles too. I really do.
I can't help but wonder if that's what it is.
Yeah.
Just thinking about where things are at right now, how I don't know how much life you're going to get out of the Super Click, but you do have them in place right now. And so
there's so many. There's so many.
There's so many. And
on our roster page, let me just read them off to you. The trios that we have mentioned. 2 combinations of the Dark Order, Death Triangle, the Elite, the Super Click. You got the Factory. You got the Undefeated Gun Club. You've got like 6 incarnations of HFO. You've got the Inner Circle. You've got Pinnacle. You've got the Nightmare Family, if they can conjure up any type of team. Cody, Dustin, anybody else. You've got Jurassic Express. You've got Team Taz. You got the Wingmen. I think there are enough to make it work, and then more will develop as they come along. But to me, like, it's a good way. It's like, well, Adam Cole, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Page, Omega, all these guys can't be the top guys. Like,
right.
Somebody's got to go for the Impact Digital Media Championship. But when somebody's like, oh, I need something to pacify me, I think they can build an effective trios title there. I think they can do it. Garcia and 2.0 people mentioned. Mox, Darby, and Kingston. I mean, Mox, Kingston, and Sting even. Like, there's a million. Oh, you want to talk about putting a title on somebody. Sting is a trios champion.
Yeah, just the idea of Sting getting to hold a championship, but at the same time, he'd be in a position. Because, of course, you know what? I can't even say what I was about to say because Sting has continually proven me wrong all year, where I'm like, all right, maybe Sting can wrestle, but just in cinematic matches. And then he has the match with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page, and I'm like, okay, Sting can go, but maybe just in tag matches. And now I'm just like, you know what? Just like a 60-minute Iron Man match with Sting.
The best friends combo of Trent, Chuck, and Yuta. My God, man. Like, they've got like 20 trios too.
Yes.
So, and I mean, we have seen that being in a tag team in AEW is not a demotion. It is not a step back. It is a top prize. And I have confidence that the trios might not be up there, but I mean, man, there's a lot of hours of TV. I would not mind those titles. So are you leaning towards trios? Mike Provencher says if they do trios titles, I hope they alter the rules to make it different from regular matches. Lucha tag rules would be super fun. I agree. I think lucha tag rules would be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if it is secondary women's title, I just don't know when that comes about. Like you said, because if the rumors about the TBS title end up being the case, which sounds perfectly plausible. TBS is one of those things that hasn't even been mentioned on TV yet. The move to TBS. So I don't know if that's something that I would necessarily introduce right now until it comes time to start promoting Dynamite's moving to TBS, unless this is the way to introduce that. I don't know. I do think that a secondary women's title is way more necessary than I think people initially thought. I think that Serena Deeb's run with the NWA women's title was filling that role. and the defenses she was having. And I think I just said all of this on Grapsody. Maybe I did. But anyway, I feel like she was filling that role. She was having some banger defenses, and it was just something that I don't think people realized they were missing until all of a sudden the belt wasn't there anymore.
Yep. I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see because I think Tony's learned to manage expectations with these announcements now.
Yes.
Hall of Fame level reveal. Okay. Christian Cage is Hall of Fame level, but come on. Brent Lockman says they really have been building trios titles for months now. Seems natural and produce awesome stuff. I'm ready for it. I thought that they should probably lean into a women's tag title instead of maybe TBS tag team titles instead of a second woman, but Jade Cargill's going to win that belt. They're not trying to beat her anytime soon, but at the same time, within the scope of AEW, you have to, or else you've got to book her against Britt, because otherwise, if she keeps winning, why isn't she getting a title shot?
Right.
Well, I think they're going to make that.
I feel like
TBS
title is the Jade Cargill belt. It would be and honestly, if she went on like a Miro like tear of like the who can topple Jade, I think that would be a good story to tell. Women's tag titles, and maybe it's just because NXT and WWE, especially just in the last 2 weeks, have put like a really sour taste on women's tag divisions in my mouth. Because at WWE, what women's tag division?
Yes.
I mean, what's left at this point in that division? It is Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH and
nothing. Nobody's left. Maybe Carmella and Zelina, if you're lucky. If you okay, not if we're lucky. If we're being real technical, because they've teamed. Phil Felice says Brandon can be the TBS champ and the trios champ with Dustin and Cody at the same time. Oh yeah, I'm telling you, if Brandy beats Britt Baker for that title, I will be the stand up for WWE meme. That will be me. I will have the hat down there. Oh gosh. Emilio says, did you see Darius and Starks on Dark Elevation? Yeah, I did. And what I like, I don't usually comment on Dark Elevation. It's some good showings and stuff, but I like watching the reactions. I like watching who's watching it. And like people are watching those damn shows. So yeah, Darius Lockhart is real good. Ricky Starks is real good.
I mean, they're incredibly accessible shows. That is,
yes.
And that's part of why I'm like a big defender of those two shows, because you know the big comparison is to compare it to Main Event. But like, I mean, you could answer this, but gun to your head, chat. Can you answer me where you actually watch Main Event?
Peacock.
The actual answer is Hulu, by the way.
Is it?
It's on Hulu exclusive. It's a timed exclusive to Hulu for 48 hours, then drops on Peacock.
Yeah, I was going to say, I watch it on Peacock, but I watch it like 6-7 days after it's supposed to air.
It drops on Peacock the Saturday after the initial airing on Hulu. And
I have it playing while I'm filming a podcast, and I'm just like, no, this is happening. And original content takes me 15 minutes to get through.
Right.
Because I'm not watching the recaps and stuff, obviously.
Yeah, and it is mostly recaps, which then my question is, who is that for? Because the other shows are on Hulu. So if you are, and I imagine it's because it airs in other markets and whatnot, so it has to have like the recap stuff. But like for Hulu specifically, like if you're going out of your way to watch Main Event, and then you have Raw, which is readily available right there on Hulu, and SmackDown, which is readily available right there on Hulu. What is necessarily the benefit of having a recap show on Hulu? It doesn't make any sense to me. But my whole point here about Main Event and Dark and Dark Elevation is that those are shows that are easily accessible, and I don't necessarily like the comparison because I've heard people say like, oh, this person's being hidden on Dark, whereas like that's the opposite of being hidden. Dark is literally like the most accessible programming you can get. Who doesn't have access to YouTube? There's nobody. I can't imagine there's anybody on Earth who has access to cable TV and not to YouTube.
Yes,
whereas,
very few. Like maybe some elderly people. Which you know what, WWE needs those people. I guess that's their demographic. But listen, if you want to access an erect penis, check out our friends at BlueChew.com. Use that code Fightful. William is our poster boy today. Look at all those beautiful belts in the background.
Yeah.
My God.
It's the collection.
Listen, get you that championship level penis.
Championship level penis.
BlueChew.com. Code Fightful. Oh, it's prescribed online, shipped straight to your door. No awkward conversations with your doctor. Not like awkwardly putting your podcast co-host on the screen without any warning. You know, if there's one thing we hate, it's awkwardness here on Fightful.com. No waiting in line at the pharmacy, no waiting in line at the doctor's office, which, you know, in this day and age, you probably don't want to spend that much time in those areas. Anyway, I mean, I don't know when you would want to spend much time in a doctor's office or a pharmacy unless, I don't know, you make your money there, and then that's a whole other conversation. But it arrives discreetly, so the mailman's not going to be picking up your package. And, well, I don't know what the mailman's doing with your package, but I know what he's doing with this package. And what it is he's not going to say, sup with your dick pills. But if you open it up right in front of him and you show him, he's going to have some questions about another package. That's for sure. Same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. But they work on your schedule. Full stomach, empty stomach, ready or not. Here you come. BlueChew.com. Code Fightful. Get that first shipment free. Just pay $5 shipping. Hush money for the mailman. That's what we're doing here. $5 shipping. Free. BlueChew.com. Code Fightful. We have a bunch of super chats about AEW. And I do see your all's draft super chats. We will be getting to those, so don't worry about that. Hannah says, Trio's first winner, Brock and Glock Anderson. Oh, my favorite meme. Mr. CJ Lilly says, a second title seems too soon as they still got work to do with the World Championship before adding a second single or a tag championship. I think that they could probably do. I think that adding a tag championship helps them do more. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that, again, we've seen them with a secondary title. Like, Serena had the NWA title, and while NWA was down for that whole year, they had a secondary belt that she was defending on the regular again. And the cool thing was, it was very much like the TNT title, right? That it had a very open, challenging format. It didn't necessarily base itself off of the rankings. And so it was a way to get a lot of people featured and have some kind of banger matches out there without revolving around the world title and keeping the world title program separate from that. So no, I think that AEW's already shown that they can do it and have done it. And I think a secondary title is a good thing.
Leave a thumbs up, guys, if you're watching this video. Ryan says, did you hear FTR's new music? It was sampled from the Midnight Express theme, and it's awesome. I think it was sampled from one that was like an abandoned Midnight Express theme. But yeah, I love it. It's really good. Joel Wood says the Gun Club are like 50-2 combined and haven't received any title shot of any kind at anything. Yeah, I think that's sort of what led to them making their turn. They've mentioned that repeatedly. Mm-hmm. Hannah says they'll bill up Jade just to have Brandy beat her. Ooh, the way that the app would just explode.
People are so mad about Brandy's existence, but I gotta tell you, she's beaten like nobody. And
she shouldn't.
She shouldn't. Because, like, maybe she's had some matches she shouldn't have had. But, like, she's also been the fall person in, like, a lot of them. Like, yeah, she made it to the finals of the tag tournament. But she was, like, stealing pinfalls from Bunny. And then on top of that, like, she had the match with Anna Jay, which is way better than it had any reason to be. And she lost. She lost straight up. I don't know. I will say this. I wouldn't be stand up for WWE meme guy necessarily. If everybody's hold on, I will say this. So, you know, the roads live by the phrase "do the work," right?
Yeah.
If Brandy somehow went on some type of like G1 style run and just had like the greatest run of matches in the history of pro wrestling. And all of a sudden she is just like match after match after match, and like maybe around the 10th one we're like, dang, she's having some bangers. We didn't know that she was suddenly like the Okada of women's wrestling. And then all of a sudden and then at that point,
yes,
I would then say, okay, she could reasonably challenge for the belt.
Yeah.
And,
oh man.
If all of those pieces fell into play, which again, this is just me being an
This
optimist.
reminds me of like when Baron Corbin was the most boring guy in history, and then he had that killer King of the Ring run, and people were like, okay, him as King of the Ring, not so bad. He had his best matches in that tournament, and then he won, and then what has happened? Exactly. Myron Kidd says, thoughts on Kayla Rossi? Why have her when you already have an Amazon woman on your roster? Well, I don't know if that's the right terminology to use there, guys, but I'm pretty sure Jade Cargill was Kayla's in AEW. They're friends. They did like shoots together and work together and stuff like that. I say, why not? Why not you don't just need one person like that. Why not have them both, build them up, and then have them clash and fight each other at some point? I'm okay with it. Mike says, if I donate more money, will you not read Hannah's horrific super chat? That was about Brandy beating Jade. Oh, people putting over the promo read. Chris Rain says championship level. And Brent says, welcome to the team, Will. Thank you. Hannah says, I only say the Brandy comment because the whole show was her saying how she's going to be champion. Oh, I know. And that was not a fun show. Ryan says, I love Brandy Rhodes, but by no means should she beat Britt Baker. It'd be a horrible decision and not make Britt look great. 2 years ago, I would have thought it was a possibility. Now that Tony has very clearly, and it's something that he reiterated in that interview with PW Insider, the EVP thing, all due respect to Body Slam and Cassidy, I love both. I love Cassidy and Body Slam.
I love Cassidy too.
That was not a new thing. That was, he had told me on the record, Tony had, that he made a New Year's resolution in January 2020, basically take control of everything, and the show's been better. And he said that one of the only exceptions was, I think, the Sheeta, or maybe it was Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander finish. It was not really good, but yeah, I don't think that Brandy is.
Oh no.
Riho. There you go.
Riho.
I couldn't remember who was champion at that point because,
it's Riho.
Quite frankly, a lot of those early women's title runs were very forgettable.
Well, a big part of that was Riho wasn't like full time at all. And I always question the wisdom behind putting the title on her, knowing that you didn't have her every week. And they didn't. They put the belt on her, and then she was like not present, but more than like twice a month at that point.
We got Demon Diva saying Brandy will beat Punk. My God. Mr. CJ Lilly says, hey guys, how would you have Alexa come back? I'm for evolution of a character, a mix of Dark and Golden Goddess with Charlotte off Raw now. I would have her come back and pretend like she has no idea what just happened, and everybody keeps bringing it up.
She should totally try to befriend like Nikki Cross, and it's just like, hey, how's it been? What's this new outfit you've got here?
She would act like it had never happened. And then they'd be like, what are you talking about? And she's genuine. Like, she does not remember it. Make a negative out of a positive. This angle sucked. Man, how would you do it?
The cool
easier
thing,
said than done.
Easier said than done, right? I mean, honestly, I would probably just dead drop her into the show just as she was, and we just never speak of this again.
Mr. CJ Lilly says, as a responsible podcaster, well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I'm a responsible podcaster. Do we get annoyed at how people blatantly lie on their platforms? Like I've seen one where they say Alexa asked to leave. I mean, no, I worry about my own stuff. If they're lying about something that I reported, then yes, I have a real problem with that. But other than that, I don't think that I don't really care that much about what other people say. We have some super chats about the draft. Kevin Steet says, draft should be like an expansion draft. Each brand protects certain wrestlers. If they want to move a champ, have them drop the belt beforehand. And Ryan Martins asks if we were surprised Gable Stevenson was drafted this soon. Do you think WWE has big plans for Hit Row on SmackDown? Well, I'll address those one by one. I'll have more on Gable Stevenson and his draft spot on FightfulSelect.com this week, so please subscribe. It's the most direct way to support us. Yes, I was surprised he was drafted. Do I think WWE has big plans for Hit Row? Oh boy, I can't wait to see Bruce Pritchard writing for those guys. I'm sure that won't be bad at all. Any thoughts on Hit Row to SmackDown?
No comment on anything Hit Row from me. I can't. A lot of people know why, but I will say that I love and support everything they do. Yes. I don't know. As far as the draft is concerned, back to the comment about the draft format and how it should be an expansion draft. I agree with that because I don't necessarily care as a viewer. And like when you think about the seconds wasted and total them up of announcing a wrestler is staying on the brand, kind of a waste of time. I have a big problem in general with the draft these last, I think this is the third year in a row now, that the draft has been held like a month before Survivor Series, which is literally a story of brand supremacy and like brand loyalty.
Less than 31 days later, they're going to be telling us how much they care about their brand.
Right. And like, I've seen the idea tossed around. I think it's a really good idea of like, hey, what if the stakes for Survivor Series were draft picks? What if you were fighting for draft picks at Survivor Series, and that is like the story of the brand supremacy, and that you are actually earning something for the brand. You're building the brand by winning those matches. And I thought that's actually not a bad idea. I actually wouldn't mind that. It kind of goes to the old draft format from 2007-ish, where they would do brand versus brand. Winning brand gets the next pick. I feel like that would be something neat to do for Survivor Series, but I think this idea of we've got these brand new rosters, and like you expect me, after just having watched Kevin Owens on SmackDown for a year, be like, and now I'm defending the honor of Raw, or like Charlotte Flair is about to go out there and defend the honor of SmackDown, and the thing is, these don't even take effect till the 22nd. It makes no sense to me. I'll never understand.
So weird. I mean, I see why they do a redraft. It's so they can get as much content out of it as they can, and because they struggle to make things matter. And the only thing that they can make matter at this point, this is hyperbolic. The only thing they can make matter is the idea and hope that their show won't suck anymore by switching the rosters and giving people new matches instead of the same ones they've done 10 times.
Yeah.
Alicia, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, you go ahead. I didn't have anything.
Alicia Ellis says, predictions for King of the Ring and Queen's Crown, Shayna and Woods for me. I think those are the two slam dunks. Shayna or Charlotte as the queen, so they can run that thing. It has to be Woods. If it's not, it's going to be really, really annoying, because it would just be annoying. Like, we've seen what you do with the King Crown, so
I know, and there's a worry in my heart of like, on one end, obviously they've done the build to Woods, and WWE brain thinking to me is, oh, well, how can we have him come up short? Because really, that's how you string the fans along, and that's how you really get them. And so I could see somebody else winning it.
What they could do the thing, and it'd be such a WWE thing where Xavier doesn't win the King of the Ring tournament, but he wins the King's Crown because Nakamura just won it from Corbin, right? It's like, but does that count? And I'm like, well, there's a good debate there, because I do remember Macho King Randy Savage. Mm-hmm. He never won the King of the Ring tournament, but he might
Haku.
Yeah, and Haku never won the tournament. So there's a lot of the King of Hearts, Owen Hart, I don't think ever won the tournament either. So Jerry the King Lawler never won the damn tournament. Like, this is all like some of the most famous kings didn't win the tournament, but
the only thing about the King of the Ring is I feel like the entire gimmick needs a new idea, because like you look at the last few kings, right? You have King Booker, which we had this original idea of what if we take a character and have him wear a crown and a cape and call himself King name and have him have a royalty gimmick. Hey, that's a fun thing to do for King Booker. First time we've seen it. And then we had King Regal, and it's like, hey, you're kind of doing the same thing you did there with King Booker, but all right. And then we had, who is 2010, King Sheamus, and you did the same thing. And then you had King Barrett, where you did the exact same thing. And then you had King Corbin, where you did the exact same thing. And now it feels like there isn't an idea that exists that isn't
original.
Yeah, where it's just you renamed him King whatever. He's a heel and he walks around with a crown and a scepter and gets made fun of for the next year.
Somebody points out Owen Hart did win in 1994. My bad. He did win. He beat Razor Ramon. I can't believe I forgot that. Joel Wood says there's usually a 5-on-5 at Survivor Series between Raw and SmackDown. No disrespect to SmackDown. But looking at the depth between the two, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you'd probably have to rock with New Day, Nakamura, Drew, and somebody because Roman's going to be defending that title. I Am Malucha says, loving your vibe and insight, Will. You hit a home run yet again, SRS. Welcome to the family, my brother. Well, you know what? It wasn't difficult to approve that podcast because I was familiar with all of Phil and William and Reg's work. So a big thumbs up from me there. That was an immediate yes to that pitch. Jay Blood says, thoughts on Kenny beating Bryan, losing the title to Hangman. That would elevate Hangman by proxy and the magnitude of Kenny losing the title. I think it would have magnified it even more if Kenny hadn't lost the Impact title randomly on an episode of Rampage as well. But like if he had this reign of terror. But what do you think of that, Will?
I honestly don't necessarily see the need to run back Kenny and Bryan necessarily this quickly. I know there is rematch culture is in a lot of people's brains, but honestly, I just saw in person, by the way, and you did too. But one of the best matches I've seen on TV in possibly ever. Love that match.
So
I think people are stuck on the idea of there not being a decisive ending.
Yes.
But like a draw is an ending. And a draw the way they did it has really not been done before. It had never been done in AEW. The idea of because what? They've done other draws. They did there was Cody and Darby, but that draw was was Cody having Darby pinned, and it was 1-2 times up. And it was the same thing with the time limit draw with Orange Cassidy and Cody, where Orange Cassidy had he had the TNT title won, but it was 1-2 times up. Yep. But this one was these two are still slapping the shit out of each other, and then times up, and it's like, okay, we have two equally matched guys, and I feel like this is a match that you don't have to just immediately jump back into. I think the story. Kenny's character doesn't necessarily have to have beaten Bryan for him to be able to say, I had a match with you. You didn't win. So therefore, I got what I wanted. And so his character doesn't necessarily have to say he won. He can just say, you didn't win, and thereby move on. And so I think you could just move forward to Hangman and Kenny immediately.
Guys, get your super chats in. We are heading down the home
get those
stretch.
Super chats.
We've got, I just wanted to even touch on the fact that this exists. Parker Bordeaux debuted. He is Gunnar Harland. He no longer has hair.
Is he Gunnar Harland? I thought it was just Harland now.
Who the hell knows? It'll be different next week anyway. So what's the point? I saw
he lost his first day before he even got to debut.
I mean, he had hype around him simply because he looked somewhat like Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had people telling me he doesn't know anything when he came in. Hopefully he's adapted quickly. He is definitely a beneficiary of this new NXT getting on TV pretty quickly, but I don't mind them getting rid of his hair because otherwise he was going to get those Brock Lesnar comparisons. And guys, that is not fair. I mean, now, great, he leaned into them, so maybe it is fair, but he ain't Brock Lesnar. And maybe he'll be good one day, but he's not Brock Lesnar. Nobody is Brock Lesnar. Nobody. And Gable Stevenson, he ain't Brock Lesnar either. Nobody is Brock Lesnar. Maybe he can become it, but if he's anywhere near as good as Brock Lesnar, we won't even be saying, oh, well, he's like Brock Lesnar. We'll be saying, damn, look at him. Because if they even come close to that, they're going to be able to stand on their own.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the new look?
It definitely took me by surprise, because initially it's like, who the hell is that? And then, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. He's gonna have to find what his thing is, and his thing can't just be I'm dude who looks like Brock Lesnar and I want to fight Brock Lesnar. It's not gonna happen. And if it does, it's a novelty that they'll put him on TV and have Brock squash him in 2 minutes, just to establish you're not. So yeah, he needed something else. I don't necessarily think that. Now, granted, Parker Bordeaux isn't exactly a name that that kind of fits the name test either, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like Gunnar Harlan does either.
Such a stupid name. They had Gunnar Scott, and they ruined Albright's career in like 2006.
What is the obsession with the name Gunnar, by the way?
I don't
Because
know.
no one's had any success with it. Gunnar Scott didn't. Gunnar.
They literally had a guy named Gunnar, and they changed his name to Jackson Riker.
Yeah.
So I mean, we got John Kelly saying, "What should be the plans for Raquel?" Her plans are be dominant NXT Women's Champion. That's it right now. 3R Show says the $2 for Will. Ask John about the Flatliner. What about the Flatliner?
The Flatliner is, as Rob just put it, it is the black wrestler's go-to that if you haven't noticed, pretty much every black wrestler who's had a prominent career has had some variation of a Flatliner. Whether it was,
I love it.
Whether it was,
I used a Flatliner when I wrestled.
It's a great move.
It
but
is.
Basically, what Rob is saying here, though, is as far as we're concerned, Sean, the black delegation has officially claimed the move. It belongs to us, and thereby you may not use it again.
Well, to be fair, like the 2 times I used it, it was on a guy that was like 4'11". So, man, it was a good looking Flatliner, though. I'll say that much. I love that move. Shout out to Canyon. Ryan Martin says, "Were you surprised how over Tony D'Angelo was? Seems like they're strapping the rocket to Braun Breaker." No, I was not. I was very unsurprised that Tony D'Angelo was that sarcastically over, as we mentioned earlier. I'm just not that surprised. But you can go back on the show earlier and check out our full talk about that. But no, not at all. R26 says, "Here's $2 for Sean staying up and editing last night." That 2+ hour or 2 hour 40-minute post show. But my God, Mike Preventure says, "Is the Flatliner the wrestling version of a superhero having lightning powers?" And Melvin had sent a super chat. Let me pop it up. "Will Sammy and Bobby Fish main event tonight's Dynamite?" I doubt it. I would imagine the ladder match will.
I think the 8-man opens and the ladder match closes.
So we'll wrap it up. I have a bunch on this story on FightfulSelect.com. I'm going to have more this evening. I reported on Monday, Tessa Blanchard is signing with a company. It's WOW Women of Wrestling. Okay. So I reached out to a whole bunch of people that used to work for WOW Women of Wrestling, and they're like, "We didn't even know it was coming back. Like, we haven't heard from David McLean since he asked us to not tweet about Tessa in like January of 2020. So, I mean, Tessa's talent is undeniable, but obviously there are plenty of controversies that they are going to have to address, and who knows if they will or if
I was going to
will.
say, is there controversy?
Will they have to?
Yeah, I was going to say,
they'll try not to.
Because, I mean, obviously, you know, this is WWE would obviously have to address it. AEW would absolutely have to address it.
Well, there's
Impact,
a reason WWE doesn't even
like
WWE would have to address a lot more, because there are things that I can't really put out there, and it's nothing like criminal. But if she were to get signed there would be more people that would speak up about their experiences with her.
Yeah, and so WOW, on the other hand, as soon as this story came out, the only response is the same thing that the talent had, which was, "Whoa, WOW's still around? Whoa, WOW's coming back?"
Well, it hasn't been around, and people asking, "Are they on Access?" No, I'll have more on where they'll be on Fightful Select, but this ain't coming back anytime soon, from what I understand. Like, not even this year. They're just getting ahead of the announcement. Shout out to a friend of the show, Izzy, who's she's there. She's posting stuff about it, and it is in conjunction with this announcement. But they've got, it looks, based on her videos, it looks like they have Alex Gracia. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Killa Kate. I'm not that familiar with her. Charity Kane. Not that familiar with her. Danny B. I am a little bit familiar with her. She is an emerging talent. And someone named Brianna Montez, who I'm not familiar with.
I want to give a shout out really quick.
Yeah.
To Killa Kate. Because I only learned this last week. So for those who don't know me, really quick, small backstory on me. I hosted RBR Weekly Wrestling Talk for 16 years. I started that show in 2005, hosted it a really long time. I got a message from Killa Kate last week that told me, and I had no idea she had been listening, that she was listening for the last 13 years she'd been listening. Oh my
gosh.
And I was just stunned to hear that. And I was very happy to hear that. And she was like, listening to you, it just reminds me of, she's like, she said it was like having friends that you've had a long time because she'd been listening for so long. So that was really cool. And I appreciated getting reached out to by Killa Kate.
Well, I'm glad that she's getting an opportunity like this then. Yeah. I feel like they should have had more big names. From a PR standpoint, as someone who has studied PR, I would have some bigger names there to take the heat off of Tessa Blanchard, because I think that they think that nobody will care. And I think people will care. Will it get better with time? Well, I think a lot of that's going to depend on Tessa Blanchard's behavior and if any of it has improved. Talent makes people forget a lot of things, for better or for worse.
But... And I had that same thought of like, if I could think of what she's thinking and what maybe they're thinking is that if she has a good enough run, could this go forgotten? I personally don't think it can.
I don't think
it can either. I think there's, but of course, she's still in deniability mode. She's still just like, what controversy? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. So.
I had been working on this story for a while, and I had heard murmurs for a while, but nothing explicit. And I was like, okay, it's a television property. And I knew they hadn't reached out to Chelsea Green and Allison Kay. And I was like, why are your women's wrestling property on TV and you don't reach out to one of those two? And I'm like, oh, well, that's why. Because Tessa's involved. Because that's the only reason you don't at least try to reach out to those two women who have been on TV everywhere. So then it all came crashing down, and it hurt inside, you could say. Yeah. But we'll see how comparison. This goes. Yes. You know what? I hope she's grown. I hope she's learned, and I hope she's made the proper amends. But we're going to see stuff emerging from that. I got real questions about why they're doing a press conference in the middle of AEW Dynamite. But we'll see. I mean, to me, that doesn't ring like incredible leadership to me, doing a press conference in the middle of AEW Dynamite on a Wednesday in Vegas when you've got Bound for Glory there later this month, and you could have done it the day before or the day after Bound for Glory, when a bunch of media and a bunch of wrestlers are going to be in town. I don't know, but I want more women to succeed in wrestling and have places to work and pay people well. So I hope that some good comes of this. I don't know, but I've got more on it on FightfulSelect.com today. And also go follow Izzy. She's doing some really great work over there at Izzy Mania on Twitter. I'm very, very proud of that girl. She's doing really, really well. We get wrapped up by a couple super chats. Nacho Man Normie says, "What's up, boys? No questions, just bored at work. Welcome to the party, Will." Hey, we are so happy to have Will. So happy to have him. Dante says she can turn it around, but it starts with an apology. Still waiting on that. Somebody asked me a year ago what I think she needed to do, and I said she should probably start reaching out to people. I mean, that saying you're sorry and meaning it goes a long way for some people, not for others. Will, what do you got going on?
Actually, I have a lot going on, surprisingly, because I'll be it's funny, too, because with Grapsody launching, I made a promise to my wife, and now I'm kind of reneging on it. In that, the promise was.
Are you announcing your divorce?
No. we'll see. But because I had said that, hey, Grapsody is a weekend podcast, so there'll be less podcasts during the week. And I'm sitting right here, right? So obviously I haven't fully committed to that. But I did promise her less, that I at least have no regular midweek obligation podcast. But I do have Grapsody coming up this Saturday. That's going to be at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. YouTube.com/Fightful. Subscribe to Grapsody Pod follow Grapsody Pod on Twitter because all three of us are running that account actually. And we have little clips and things that you'd find from the podcast itself, but we definitely want you to listen to it and check us out because it's something that I had wanted to do a really long time, and Reg really wanted to do, and Phil's really wanted to do, and we finally came together and said, let's do it. And I'm just excited. Grapsody has been already such a blast to get to work on, and we've got a suppose the one thing I'm working on, and I'm hoping to have it done for Saturday, but time will tell. But there is an intro in the works.
Nice.
That the song's done. The video is being filmed. And if it's done in time for Saturday, it will be there. If not, next Saturday. But definitely check out Grapsody. It's right here, youtube.com/Fightful.
Right after this, I'm heading over to FightfulSelect.com for the list goes on. I'll talk about like Bo Dallas farming or something because that's what apparently he does. I'm going to just answer questions for you guys live. And then we'll have our full-on Q&A show Thursday or Friday, guys. So FightfulSelect.com. Scoot on over there. It's the most direct way to support us, and it's only $5 a month.
Only $5. Fightful
Only
Select.
$5. Until next time, guys, we're out.